Welcome back. Called the September Code Enforcement Board meeting to order. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Anyone planning on testifying today, please stand again and be sworn in.
If anybody's going to speak, I need you to stand, please.
And just to clarify, neighbors of the properties, unless they are being called as witnesses by one of the parties, are not able to testify.
But feel free to be sworn in.
You'll raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone have any revisions to last month's minutes? Did we get it right? Motion to adopt?
I motion. I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Staff, do we have any revisions to this month's agenda?
I do. Under your agenda, item 5, B is in Bravo, G is in Gulf. It's the Barrier Island Management Consultants. They are in compliance and they have paid their $500 fine yesterday.
Good. Which one is it?
G.
I have several.
Good. The more the better.
Under request for board order, item A, 18 CE 8495, Lambert Commercial Real Estate, 1745 Professional Center LLC is being pulled, came into compliance after notice of hearing. Item B, 18 CE 8611, Susan A. Fields, being pulled because it came into compliance after notice of hearing. C, 18 CE 8692, Christopher and Judy Lee, owners, John Egan, tenant. Cases being pulled, came into compliance after a notice of hearing. Item F, 18 CE 8719, Charnix Beauty Salon and Supplies, LLC, complied after notice of hearing. Item H, 18 CE 8741, Vero Hotel, LLC, complied after notice of hearing. Item O, 18 CE 8788, Kenneth Tuck, complied after notice of hearing. Item P, 18 CE 8763, Charnix Beauty Salon and Supplies, pulled after notice of hearing.
Okay, thank you.
I think there was one more. Okay. Item L. Did you say L?
She didn't say L.
My error. Item L, 18 CE 8797, JC Rental and Investment Incorporated, and James Schlitt as owner and agent, and Belinda Banfield as tenant. Cases being pulled has come into compliance.
Okay, I'll move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Then we'll start with case 18-CE-8795, Sunrise City Community Housing Development Organization.
Good morning. I'm David Kakey, Indian River County Contractor Licensing Investigator. This is an appeal, citation appeal for Sunrise City Community Housing Development Organization, Inc. Sunrise City's main address is listed as Indian River Drive in Fort Pierce. The location of the violation is 1441 Ocean Drive, Unit D, Delta 209. That's the Oceanside Condominium in Vero Beach. The qualifier of the company is Mr. Roderick Waller. Mr. Waller is here this afternoon. Sunrise City holds 3 licenses with the state of Florida, 2 of which are registered to do work in Indian River County, the certified general contractor and the certified roofing contractor. He also holds a 3rd licensure that's not registered here, and that is a certified residential contractor. The violations relevant to this case occurred under Mr. Waller's certified general contractor's license, the first one. On July 31st, building department staff received a complaint of a sunroom being closed without a permit at a condominium at the above address. Staff arrived on site at 3:22 p.m., observed 2 workers on the 2nd-story porch installing a window. They were kind of like window walls. 1 worker on the ground was walking to the truck. Here's a photo. The photograph was taken as we pulled up. There's 2 workers on that 2nd story and then 1 down below. We interviewed all 3 of the workers who identified themselves as employee of Sunrise City. Employee number 1, which is the gentleman in a white shirt there, identified himself as Luigi, that he was an employee of Sunrise City and paid by a company check. Second employee, which is, I don't believe he's listed there. He may be in the photo down below. His name was Jose, stated he was an employee of Sunrise City, but he was paid in cash. Third employee was named Estava. He stated he was an employee of Sunrise City, and he too was paid in cash. Mr. Waller was not on site at the time of my arrival. I contacted the homeowner, Don Bell, who was away from the home at the present time. I received consent via phone call to enter the home with Luigi. Consent was granted to the building department staff, and we confirmed that no permit was applied for. At that point, staff posted a stop work order and issued a $500 citation for commercial work without a permit and a $500 citation for uninsured workers. Sunrise City did not have workers' comp policies on his employees, on 3 of his employees. Per the building department protocol, the state of Florida Workers' Comp Division was also notified. That is our requirement, to notify them as well. I informed Luigi that I will hold the citation for 24 hours. Luigi was that gentleman there. To pass on to Mr. Waller, who was apparently, he was in a meeting, I believe, at the time when he called him and not available to speak. So I stated through his guy that, Luigi, that if he were to notify me within 24 hours, I will hold the citation, produce a copy of the workers' comp policy. We would then, be able to rescind it. After the 24-hour period, we did not receive any calls from Mr. Waller until August 14th, when he requested an appeal on the grounds that he did, in fact, have insurance under the workers there. I replied back again on August 14th and stated if he still had the policy, we would be glad to review it. As of today, no policy has been submitted. Mr. Waller is here to appeal that citation. So we had one citation issued for 2 different violations. One was work on a commercial condominium without a permit and uninsured workers' comp on his employees. And that was a total of $1,000.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Waller?
Yes, sir.
Mind to step up and state your case? Start with your name and your address, please.
Sure, Roderick Waller, home address or office address?
Office is fine.
Office, 130 South Indian River Drive, Fort Pierce, Florida, 34950. I do have, and I was looking it up, I guess I was emailing the wrong person at the county. I do have copies of our insurance liability and pay stubs for those 3 gentlemen. They did, again, it's miscommunication. There's a language barrier, and I'm pretty sure he could attest, the accents. But anyway, they weren't supposed to start till the next day. We did obtain a permit that same day. So.
Could you pass those around? We need to enter those in the record, too.
Does this zoom out?
Yes.
That's blurry.
Item A there would be the workers' comp policy. If you look down below here, that is not in any of our county certificate holders, so that would not apply to us. In other words, let me talk to the mic,
Gotcha.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Let the record note that I'm reading this for the first time today. Looks like Mr. Wallace submitted a workers' comp policy that is made out to a different entity in 3 W-2 earning statements for Luigi Carlo, Jose Arenas, and Jose Penfilel. You want me to pass these around, or?
We need a copy.
On the insurance policy, I'm workers' comp exempt. We sub everything out. The insurance policy has my company as a certificate holder, and the actual policies under who we sub it out to. And the checks, they also pay the people. We sub everything out. And actually had another visitor on a job site yesterday, and my sub there had their stuff and it checked out, but that's how our company, we sub all our work out.
Question.
Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, did your subcontractors have the necessary paperwork? And did you check it?
Yes. You were talking about?
I'm talking about the entities that you subcontract out to.
Yes, I do.
They have the necessary paperwork in your opinion?
Yes, sir. Yes, they did. And the certificate I received back in February from them, because when I started using them on some work in other jurisdictions and used them here.
Mr. Keke, could you please read to us again the names of the gentlemen that you had spoke to? It appears there are 2 Jose's, and I don't believe that is the way you stated their names.
There was 2 Jose's and Luigi on his documents there. The gentlemen I spoke to were Luigi, Jose, and Estava.
Estava, okay.
How do you account for that, sir?
The 3 I have the checks were the ones that were hired to do the work. I'm not sure. Well, one of them does have like 4 names, so I'm not sure if Jose was part of it.
If I'm looking correctly, and it's not very clear to see, these pay stubs are July of 2018. Am I correct on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the, I have it here, I'm sorry, I'll answer my own question, the stop order presented?
July 31st.
July 31st, okay.
I have a question for the building department. Would any of this paperwork that's supplied today, if it was supplied at the time, make any difference?
It would make a difference on the 2 individuals, Luigi and Jose, if those are the same people. The third one, Estava, no. However, we would have to verify that with the company and when that policy was issued. Whether it was issued the same day, whether it was issued a year earlier, whatever it is, a current policy. We'd have to contact the Retail First, I believe was the carrier on that, and ask for an employee list in order to verify that those were the workers. What I don't understand is Mr. Waller's comment about the subcontractor, and maybe we can get some clarification on that.
Are these subcontracted employees? Or are they your employees?
No, they're not my employees.
They are not your employees?
No, sir.
Please speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. They're not my employees. I hired the companies to do the work, and I ensure that I get the workers' comp certificates from those companies.
So these are leased employees that you have working for you with some type of trade level?
Actually, they're not leased employees. the company has a similar name, but that company has a policy. They're not leased employees.
Okay, so the Sunrise City
exactly.
Concrete Services.
Is it a subsidy of your company?
We own a small portion of the company, yes, sir.
What percentage, may I ask?
10%.
Thank you. When was the permit applied for?
The permit was applied on the same day, that afternoon after I left and posted the stop work order, and that was August 31st.
Mr. Waller, is it yours?
July 31st.
July 31st.
Yeah, I got that.
Is it your responsibility to apply for the permit or the company that's doing the work?
I do. Yes. And I do admit they weren't supposed to start till the next day, because...
Were you issued a permit on August 1st?
Actually, same day, July 31st, we were issued that permit. So once I got out my meeting... Once I got out my meeting, I went to the building department and picked up the permit.
I'm going to grab a seat over here so we can both have the mic.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Waller some cross-examine some of his questions?
Of course.
Mr. Waller, who is the name of the subcontractor that you said you hired for this?
Sunrise City Concrete Services. They do our windows, my pads, and foundations.
And are they a licensed concrete contractor?
Actually, in the municipalities where we're at, they don't.
So they're not a licensed concrete contractor?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, then that's actually a more egregious violation if you've hired an unlicensed contractor to be out there working. Because not only do we have not possibly uninsured, but we have an unlicensed contractor on site as well.
Well, I haven't done any concrete in this area. All of it was down in, most of our work's down in West Palm. And with the building official down there, we did talk with them about being able to do this.
Okay, so licensed in West Palm?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
Okay. Are you aware, you've been a seasoned contractor for a while?
That's correct.
Are you aware that your subcontractors need to be licensed in Indian River County and listed on a subcontractor affidavit?
No, wasn't aware of that.
Have you pulled permits in Indian River County?
Oh, yes.
And you don't know about the subcontractor affidavit?
Haven't heard of that.
Okay.
But like I say, all are mostly in River County. I do roofs, and that company that I used is licensed. I am complete. Okay. Yeah, they are.
To your best guess, how many times have you pulled contracts here in Indian River County in the past 2 years?
Oh, they're just about all roofs, and
say that again, please.
It's been all roof permits.
But how many?
Probably
1, 2, 10?
30.
30?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Who's your roofing subcontractor?
Complete Construction. He's got a long name like ours. Complete Construction Design Services. I could provide that later.
Is that
Mr. Pryor?
Elijah Pryor?
Yes, sir.
Ken Johnson, contract license investigator in New York County Building Department. I'd just like to state that Elijah Pryor is a certified building contractor. He's not allowed to be doing any type of re-roofs.
Well, it's not really relevant for this anyway. Nobody was roofing anything, so not sure how we got off on that tangent, but.
Okay.
I just ask a question.
Shame on you.
Whatever.
Do you have some advice? It seems like there was some miscommunication and possibly you would need more time to verify Mr. Waller's facts.
I can make a recommendation. I do have one more question for Mr. Waller, if I may.
Sure.
That policy that he has there, first we had asked that through Luigi, his employee, whether he could produce that within 24 hours, which he didn't. And then when once again on August 12th, when we asked him again, if you have the policy, could you produce it? And he still never responded. So I don't understand why we made it all the way to this hearing and then produce the evidence. I'm a little curious about that.
I got an email and I'm looking for it from an official at the building department that I emailed and attached, actually that same day, those documents.
You emailed it to?
Email.
Do you have the email with you?
That's what I'm trying to pull up now.
While he's looking that up, I can make a recommendation that we defer this to the October Code Board hearing so we have a chance to verify the insurance, make sure that the individuals are covered, and verify who's Sunrise City Concrete, because these gentlemen who told me that they were employees of Mr. Waller and not employees of Sunrise City Concrete. So we need to find out and possibly subpoena those individuals and get their testimony as well.
May I speak? They normally, a lot of people, because the name is long, most of them always say Sunrise City. They don't say the complete name of Sunrise City Community Housing or Sunrise City Concrete. They just say Sunrise City.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Well, I would just like to say I have one concern that, according to your own testimony, you have pulled at least 30 permits in the last 2 years.
Yes.
It would seem to me that after 30 permits, you should know the rules of Indian River County.
That is correct. Now, and based on the information that I've been given, I'm going to make that correction.
I think we can take care of one of these violations of doing construction without a permit. We can settle that right now.
Yep.
And then the other portion, we can defer.
Sounds like a plan.
Do we have?
That is a plan.
Do we have proof the permit was pulled, other than testimony of Mr. Waller?
The permit was pulled after we posted the stop work order.
Okay.
Yeah. They
came in that afternoon.
They called him and then he went and applied for a permit and got a permit.
Okay.
And is that a $500 fine?
Yes.
Yes.
With no leeway?
The leeway would be to rescind it, according to my understanding of the statute.
Yeah, that we uphold it, or
It's all or nothing?
You don't reduce it. Correct.
Since this is one citation with two separate violations, if you are going to defer the case to October, I recommend that you defer the entire case until October.
Okay.
all right.
Based upon the attorney's recommendation, I would make that motion to delay this until the October meeting.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
I'll give you some chance to find your emails. And,
Well, I did find the email, but that give me time and I'll have it printed.
And the secretary for the board needs to have all of the documents that were presented to the board members.
They're your copies.
And may I ask that we get it in a timely manner, not the day of the meeting, but maybe a week before, so we could they can peruse it? Is that a possibility?
He has the insurance policy and the 3 pay stubs. The only thing that's missing, and I'll email him, is a copy of the email of me sending the information.
All I'm saying is, whatever you have to give us, try and get it here before the day of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
You might need some of that Sunrise Concrete Construction Company stuff too, so you can verify that he has general liability and workman's comp also.
Okay.
He said, Mr. Waller said that I have copies of it. Were those my copies? Is that what you?
Yes, those are your copies. Yes, sir.
We need
grab those.
We need copies.
Well, actually,
for
those
the-
are Sherry's copies.
Okay.
I'll email them to you.
Okay. It would behoove you to stay in contact with Mr. Kiki and get this sorted out before.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Before we dismiss to nothing to do with Mr. Waller, I would like to introduce Mr. Rick Roscoe. He's one of our new contractor licensing investigators with the Indian River County.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay. Should we keep going down the line, or is anybody here for anything in particular? We should move ahead, or? I'll defer to you guys.
I've only identified some of them. Some came in after we, I don't know who all's here. I
Okay.
don't know who I spoke to prior.
We'll just keep going.
Okay.
Case 18-CE-8702, Tony and F. Lorangel Abasi.
Requesting a board order for case 18CE8702. The violators, Tony and Laura Angel Labasi, were cited for sea turtle lighting violations at 3766 Ocean Drive. A citation was issued 7/19/18 with service of the citation provided by property posting. The violation has been corrected as of 7/20/18, and the civil penalty has not been paid. The board is asking that the board find a violation exists, request that the board authorize, wow. Requesting a board order for the initial penalty, please.
Okay, are you talking $50?
Correct.
It's been corrected, it's in
The
compliance
violation
now?
has been corrected.
But it has not been paid, is that correct?
Correct. So a board order just to pay the civil penalty, please.
How is this correction made? Do you take the bulb out or shut off the light or what?
The light can be reduced to a low watt amber, the light can be turned off, the light can be shielded so it's not visible from the beach.
What did they do?
They have a floodlight that's wired to a fan, so when you turn the fan on inside the house, the floodlight comes on.
Okay, so they disassembled that somehow.
I hope so.
Well, you said they corrected it, so
It's a short-term rental, so the tenants that I talked to said they wouldn't turn the fan on during the time that they were there for the 4 days they were staying in the house.
Did I hear you correctly? Short-term rental?
Yes, sir.
Was it in the
Well,
proper
no, you
zone?
wouldn't say that.
It comes up again on the agenda.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion then that there was a violation which has since been corrected and the board issue an order for payment of the $50 civil penalty.
Second.
I second
All in
that.
favor? Aye. 18-CE-8697, Joseph Cadaldo.
Requesting a board order for case 18CE8697. The violator, Joseph Cataldo, was issued a citation for garbage, rubbish, trash, and other debris not properly enclosed while awaiting normal trash pickup or accumulated in such a manner it would provide food or harborage for rats at 1740 21st Street. The citation was issued after a warning citation was issued and the property did not come into compliance. Service of the citation was provided by property posting. No request for a hearing on the citation has been received, so a hearing to contest the citation has been waived and the violation is deemed admitted by the violator. The violation has been corrected as of August 2nd, 2018. The civil penalty has not been paid. The board requests that can't get that out today. Request that the board find a violation does exist, it has been corrected, and in order to pay the initial civil penalty.
I would like to make that motion in the words that
That I stumbled over?
Yeah, that you stumbled over. Yes, in those exact words.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Brings us to 18-CE-8800, JC Rental Investment, Inc.
Could you repeat that number again?
18-CE-8800. Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Top of the next page.
Aye, okay.
Page 3, first one.
Aye, got it.
Aye.
Requesting a board order on this property, the violators, JC Rental and Investment Incorporated, James Schlitt, agent and owner, and Michaela Wasden as the tenant were cited for a non-operable boat and trailer stored on the right-of-way. A citation was issued 8/15/2018 with service of the citation provided by certified return receipt to the owner and first-class mail to the tenant. The violation has not been corrected as of today, and the civil penalty has not been paid. If the board finds the violation exists, we request the board authorize the issuance of a board order to correct the violation by 9/17/2018 for the initial penalty and continuing penalties of $50 a day back to the original compliance date of the citation. Mr. Schlitt is here. I'm not sure if Ms. Wasden is.
She's in Mexico.
Okay, Mr. Schlitt is here.
Mr. Schlitt, would you like to?
You gotta come up to the mic.
Unless you just say no. Can you start with your name and your address, please?
James Schlitt, 2205 Vero Beach Avenue.
Were you sworn in, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The two have separated. So I guess I don't know how you get the name of my tenant or whatever is, I guess, the power bill. So she no longer lives there. Her ex lives there. so, and she's in Mexico right now, so.
Was that the case?
Her
When did
ex-husband
she
or
move
her
out?
ex-boyfriend?
No, Michaela.
Okay.
He's still there.
He's still there.
He's still there.
Her ex-husband.
Yeah, and I asked him to move the boat, and
Okay.
yeah.
It's a boat on a trailer. It needs to be hooked up and removed from the right-of-way.
And it will be, but I don't know why he just didn't do it.
I have a legal question. Who ultimately is responsible, the owner or the tenant? To the attorney.
It's the owner of the property that ultimately, because any lien goes against the property.
Okay. You see the problem?
Yeah, you see my problem?
Yeah, but the boat's not on the property.
Anybody want to buy a trailer park?
True. It's an abandoned boat.
The trailer park has a long history with the city. Most of the mobile homes are on the right-of-way. So in the interest of, there's ongoing fines based on that. So right now, we're just trying to keep the right-of-ways cleared.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of
I do everything I can except the ones of moving the trailers that are existing, so. It will be moved. He's supposed to be selling it, and I've talked to him several times about it. I said, just make it go away.
Is there any possibility, sir, that you can hook the trailer up and move it yourself? It is your property.
Yeah, I guess that's another reason why I came, so I know kind of what I could and couldn't do legally, you know.
Kara?
He would have to follow, there's a procedure that has to be followed for, unless it's, you have it posted, towing of property, but there is a procedure. I don't know what it is offhand, and I don't know what the section of statute is.
And I definitely don't know.
Right.
And technically, it's not your property, it's a right-of-way, so.
Well,
I get to cut grass, though.
But why wouldn't it just get a ticket and get towed?
Yeah.
You can't tag it because it's not got a tag on it. Our parking enforcement.
Can you move it
can't do
to an inboard area within the trailer park that is unoccupied trailer?
That's another question I had, that is, if it was off the right-of-way with no tag, would that offend anybody?
That would not work because there are other citations that have been issued for non-operational vehicles in the park.
That's another reason why I was here.
Yeah, the no tag is a problem, too.
Right. So
Boat has to go.
even on your own property, every car has to be licensed and insured, licensed and tagged and insured.
Tagged and operable.
My question
and
would
insured
be,
to get the tag.
the position of this boat and trailer, does it compromise fire safety or emergencies of any kind?
I can't answer that beyond my scope of experience and expertise.
I understand.
I would say no, but
Well, I think all we can really do is follow the advice of the code enforcement officer, and hopefully this all doesn't fall back on you, but without pending fine.
I will make sure it's moved one way or the other, whether I have to do the eviction.
By the 17th, though.
I'm sure I can do that.
Okay.
And that's in 4 days.
Yeah. But
Also
I had
factor in the date that the citation was issued, so we've had all that time up until now. So it's not like we're just saying 5 days arbitrarily, we're saying that the citation was issued on the 15th. We need to think about moving stuff before it comes to hearing.
Well, like I said, I had a lot of questions, and I knew there was going to be a lot.
I know, and I
yeah,
do say that
so-
Jimmy always reaches out to me whenever there's a problem and he's noticed and the tenant's noticed. Jimmy always reaches out to me, and we fall in the middle of, landlord-tenant who's going to get it straightened out.
Any other ones while I'm up here?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like you can stay put for a while, but.
Oh, we need to close this one out.
It will be moved by the 17th, regardless if I have to do it myself. But
The citation was issued on the 15th, so we need to have it moved on the 15th, by the 15th, am I correct?
yeah, I can do it
17th.
today. I mean, it's
By
not
the
going to.
17th, okay.
But the eviction process is about 20 days, so if he was going to be non-compliant, I'd have to go that route. And I'll notify her if he's going to decide to go down that road, and then maybe she can give me 20 days to do the eviction, and then he'll guarantee to be gone. So I'll communicate with her.
I would still ask that we have a board order that goes to a compliant state of 9/17, and that if it's not removed, that we go back to the compliant state on the citation, and then Mr. Schlitt, if he shows good faith and evicts them, and it comes to that, then we'll address.
I recommend what our code enforcement
Okay.
officer
And Melanie, you really need to speak into the microphone because.
We need a motion.
When they're taking your motion,
got it
I
under
can't
control.
hear it.
I would have the order say that he has until the 17th to come in compliance. However, the officer is given discretion to extend that time frame if necessary.
Fair enough.
I make a motion, we do that.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Does everybody understand what's implied here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I vote aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
That's one.
18-CE-8798, same place.
Wait, what about 8799?
You missed one,
Oh, sorry.
8799.
Okay.
Jay. Buick.
Jay, yeah.
All right, requesting board order, J.C. Rental and Investment, James Schlitt, agent and owner, and Florence Bradford as a tenant were cited for a non-operable Buick stored on the right-of-way. The citation was issued with the service of the citation by certified return receipt to the owner and first-class mail to the tenant. The violation has been corrected. The civil penalty has not been paid, requesting a board order to pay the civil penalty,
Of how much?
$50.
It was not his vehicle.
I spoke with Mrs. Bradford.
I think she's dead.
Somebody called me and said it was removed and...
Dave?
It's been moved, yes.
Yeah, it's been moved.
But it
was not his vehicle.
It was not his vehicle.
A friend of mine.
Sir, you need to come to the microphone if you want to speak.
All righty, here we go.
It had to do with Todd Jenkins right down the street from
Sorry
us.
to interrupt, but could you start with your name and your address? And
David Rushing, 1228 24th Street.
Thanks. Were you sworn in?
Huh?
Were you sworn in?
Yes.
All right, good.
The vehicle had to do with a friend of mine, Todd, down the street. The car lot right there, so it was moved along with some of his cars.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins parks cars along the roadway. He's an exporter, so this car was literally parked off the road
You're right.
against the trailer of 35. So in good faith, if we cite it, call me when you get the citation and tell me it's not yours.
I didn't really cite it.
The guy that lives there is not all there, so he's not real smart.
Okay, someone has to call me.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I came today, to address all of these, to know what to do in the future.
When you hear from me, call me.
I do call you. I leave messages every morning.
Wow.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Well, you call me back, but I mean, every morning that I get a citation, I call
No,
you.
Jimmy always does try to work with me. He just,
So what is your recommendation?
board order for the $50 to be paid.
I make a motion that the board order to be paid for the $50.
Second it.
Can we say that there was a violation, that it
It was
has
a
been corrected?
violation.
Who are we violating?
Yeah, that's
Landlord.
The landlord.
The owner of the property.
why the owner of the right-of-way is the city. No?
In this instance, the mobile home park has taken over the city's right-of-way. They are responsible for what is happening.
It's been deeded over.
No, they have, by encroachment, have taken over the right-of-way. They are responsible for this property.
I'm fairly familiar with a lot of surveys back there, and
I don't think it's ever been surveyed.
people have tried.
Grandfather.
Right. No, don't say that.
Well, I have a motion on the floor.
We have a motion.
I second it.
It was already seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to have to vote against this one. This is a...
So Mr.
It's not even his
Mr.
car.
Split is now in a new business of trying to keep untagged vehicles out of the...
What's that?
You're now in the business of keeping
Right.
untagged vehicles off the property.
And I'm going to find out how to do it legally, and then, it won't happen again, because
Take a look, look at section 715.07 of the Florida statutes.
and also, if I started towing cars that I thought I can see that are untagged, it could be Todd's. I kind of thought they were Todd's. I mean, obviously now,
I know where Todd does his, so it's unusual for Todd to be,
well, I'm just saying, now I'm the car police, but I understand now. I'll just go to Todd and say, is this your car?
Why? Just tow it.
Well,
Then Todd
I'm
will
not
not
going
to park it there.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
Then
why is
the
it
question
up to you?
comes up, where does he tow it?
Well, you call,
Somebody else's right away. I don't understand what.
Is there a company that works, that does that, is legit, or,
I mean, that would imply an impound, wouldn't it? Tow somebody else's property and take it to a third site?
From public right-of-way, yeah.
Somebody else's right.
Does he have the right to tow it?
Yeah.
Please don't tow my car when I park over here on the street.
Don't take your tags off.
what you guys, the tag number?
I would like to join in by saying, we are the Code Enforcement Board. We're here to enforce the codes. Our primary code and job is to make the city safe and pretty.
Agreed. Sounds to me like there should have been a ticket put on the car.
And I think we have to move, and I think we have to be strict, because I'm not, I don't know this property. There may be a fire or safety or EMT problem, but I don't want to see any kind of safety problem, and if there's a code, I want it enforced. I think it should be enforced, because part of our job, like I said, trying to keep the city Vero the way we want it.
Wouldn't it be the responsibility of the person who owns the car? I don't own the car.
That may be the case, in my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but the statutes say the owner of the property, the tenant, am I correct, Madam Attorney?
Yes, the owner of the property is ultimately responsible. I have provided the section of statute 715.07, which is the process for removing vehicles or vessels, so that would be boats or cars parked on private property. And it lists the procedure that is done. You would call a tow company. They know what they have to do.
Right.
They would, follow the procedure. So if you look at that section, contact an attorney if you need additional advice, and he can inform you actually how you can get the vehicles.
And that's how the person gets penalized for putting their car there. In other words, instead of a ticket and all that stuff, that's how you just tow it, and then they have to pay to get their car out.
Correct.
But now you want me to pay their fine.
Do you have a deposit from these people on these properties?
I didn't know whose car it was.
No. The person who rented this property, did you require a deposit?
No, he owns his own trailer.
So does he pay rent of any kind?
Yes, lot rent.
Did you take a deposit against that lot?
No.
Well, that would be unfair too, because anybody could park an untagged vehicle in front of any place they want to.
And James Halsey, who rents the lot, didn't know whose car that was either.
Somebody just pulled a car in and left it there.
Yep.
It broke down.
Well, it sounds like a police problem.
Do we have a trailer park manager there?
The car broke down and they took the tag off?
But Melody said the police can't.
Somebody stole it. Was it tagged?
It wasn't tagged.
It's on the right-of-way, they can't.
But is it legal?
If it's in the right-of-way, then the police should
Well,
be
then all
able
you have to do is prove that it was
towed.
Okay, all right.
Melody, if the untagged vehicle was on the actual property, you'd still get fined, right?
They say the car had a tag until the tag was stolen.
This just keeps getting better.
This would still be out of compliance even if it was on private property.
Correct.
It's on the property grass.
The right of way.
Okay. We still must maintain the ordinances of this community, and unfortunately, Mr. Schlitt, it looks like the burden falls upon you, according to the way I see things, and you're going to have to just research and push to correct the situation, in my opinion.
Well, let's move on to the next case. This one's already resolved, so.
Is this going to be a common thing?
Oh, there's
I hope not.
problems out here, but apparently these guys made a sweep or something.
Yes.
You saw one and saw, hey, there's another one. Hey, there's another one.
All right, we'll move to 18-CE-8798. 182824.
Wait, was that motion seconded?
Yeah, and everybody,
Yeah, it was
me
already
voted yes.
Okay. Sorry.
That's
Sleep at the
fine.
wheel.
And then we discussed it for way too long.
Okay.
Next.
Okay.
Requesting a board order, violator J.C. Rental and Investment James Schlitt, agent and owner, and Stephen Brown were cited for scrap metal and other debris stored on the right-of-way The citation was issued 8/15/2018 with service of the citation provided by certified return receipt to the owner and first-class mail to the tenant. The violation has not been corrected. The civil penalty has not been paid. Request that the board find the violation exists in order to correct by 9/17 and the initial civil penalty with continuing penalties of $50 a day back to the original compliance date of the citation.
Would you happen to have a picture of that, please?
When did you check to make sure it was?
First, let me show Mr. Schlitt.
Melanie, if you'll put that on the dot cam, because they still have it on.
Even that stuff still there?
This is the way it looks now, so it's still got stuff on the right-of-way. All this stuff has to be removed.
All that stuff, okay. I will explain that.
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
This was the day that was initiated?
Speak into the microphone.
The bottom picture shows the items that were on the right-of-way when the case was initiated. This was the picture that was taken this morning prior to hearing.
Look at that.
Steve, you're next.
Morning, afternoon. My name is Stephen Brown. I live at 1228 24th Street, lot number 31. I will have to say that I presume that we did have the right to use that portion of the property as a leisure requirement. I will have to plead guilty otherwise on that. We have no other yards to use. We do have a fire pit and had some chairs out there for use in the evening. So it's my mistake on that one, if I am incorrect.
I would just like to go on the record that Mr. Brown was issued a warning citation in August of last year for stuff being on the right-of-way.
And we're not talking about chairs.
We're not talking about chairs. We're talking about the wood objects and the other items.
We're talking about the picture that you showed.
What is that?
I just have a great concern and a question to ask Mr. Schlitt. Are you not concerned with what that property of yours looks like at all?
It's something
That's still there?
No, it was cut up and gone.
Is that this morning?
No, that was part. But does Mr. Brown bring stuff in and cut it for scrap? Is that why we bring stuff to the property?
We have that small bone pit there, and
Can he bring stuff to the inside of the park to cut it?
we have moved most of the lumber and everything inside the fence area, away from the right-of-way. If we're not allowed to have anything there, then we will start moving the chairs back behind the things and then only utilizing them in the evening or something when we go out to set.
I don't have a problem with the chairs in the fire pit, but there's wood and other items that are stored across the front of the trailer, and as long as you're bringing scrap home to be able to make some extra money, work with Mr. Schlitt that all of that is done inside the park.
Okay, ma'am.
Agreeable, Mr. Schlitt?
Yes.
Whatever.
He does call me every day.
This is in compliance now?
No.
No.
Well, we have those chairs and everything out there, so
No.
Aside from the chairs,
I'm not asking for the chairs. I'm actually asking.
I didn't see the second
Now,
picture.
we do
Looks so
still
much
have a few
different than the
pieces
first
of wood cut down that we do use in the fire pit here.
Oh, and all this stuff from the front. Only thing that remains is the fire pit. This wood removed.
Okay, because this is a fence that Dave
not
has
even
up here.
go on fences.
Yes.
We'll get that taken care of.
I still feel that I need an answer. I would like to know if Mr. Schlitt is not concerned with the way all of that property looks to the City of Vero Beach.
It's industrial property, and I am, but I'm answering your question.
Okay.
I am concerned. I have been concerned for 20 years, and I do my best, but, the people in trailer parks usually get the reputation they deserve. I mean, I tell them one day, tell them the next day, then I cleaned up, then it appears again, and then it's just a revolving door for, situations.
Maybe that could...
I have lots of properties too. That's the reason why I'm always in some type of violation because of my tenants. It's never me.
And I will say that on other cases, whenever it comes to Mr. Schlitt's attention, he moves heaven and earth to come into compliance. The trailer park has always been a different story, but other properties, Mr. Schlitt is very cooperative with me.
I do appreciate that, but I'm going to ask if there is a possibility that when someone moves in and leases or rents that trailer property, could that not be part of the lease, that the property remain clean and unencumbered and safe to the public and themselves?
Want to buy a trailer park?
Yes.
I think most of Mr. Schlitt's tenants are long-term tenants. We don't have turnover of the trailers much.
No. And like I said, it's an everyday thing.
It is hard.
This is also the method of the tenant to
like herding cats.
earn money to pay for rent, too.
I'm sorry?
This is how the tenant earns money to pay Mr. Schlitt, right?
You say it's an industrial site?
Yeah, it's industrial property.
Okay. I make a suggestion to you that when you do lease it or rent it, that you just have a little piece of paper that you hand saying you are not permitted to use this.
How little?
8.5 by 11.
Okay. How big a print?
Big enough for a guy my age to read.
Okay.
Okay.
Need to hit him in the head with it. Needs to be a bat.
I mean, we're trying to be reasonable here, but we also want to do what we have to do.
I got you. I totally understand.
It's a simple way.
I think they're in grants. They're going to take care of that situation.
Right. But I'm talking about your new ones when they come in.
Thank you.
Do you have a property manager on any other site? You? Okay. Well, maybe you have
the plumber.
You have to expand your duties.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Right, next one.
Nope, we're not done with this one yet. I'll make a motion that you, sir, have until September 17th to get everything cleaned up to Melody's satisfaction.
I will check with her and we will get that done right away, so.
If it's not done by the 17th, then you will owe a $50 civil penalty to the city, and continuing penalties will commence on that day as well, of $50 a day.
For a point of clarification, uphold the civil penalty assessed on the citation and correct by 9/17, and then the fines start.
That's not quite what I said.
I know.
Right, and would you repeat it for me,
But this
please?
property has had a warning citation before for the stuff
Same
all over
person?
all over the right-of-way, so yes, please uphold the civil penalty.
How often?
It had one in August of last year.
I'm going to cut him some slack. If this is his means of earning some spending money, then we'll see what the rest of the board thinks. So we'll give him until September 17th to bring his property into compliance. And if it's not in compliance with that date, then we will assess the civil penalty of $50, and the continuing penalties of $50 a day will commence.
Very good, thank you, sir.
Wait, they haven't voted yet.
We have to, I need a second.
I second it.
Have a second, all in favor, or do we need to call roll? Anybody against? I'll say it that way. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
All right.
Okay. 18-CE-8796, Unit 32.
Violator J.C. Rental and Investment, James Schlitt, agent and owner, Belinda Banfield. Is that the right one? No, not the right one. Wait a minute.
David Rushing, yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
David Rushing as the tenant were cited for scrap metal and other debris stored on the right-of-way. The citation was issued 8/15 with service of the citation provided by certified return receipt to the owner and first-class mail to the tenant. The violation has not been corrected. Asking that the board find the violation does exist, correct the violation by 9/17, uphold the initial civil penalty or continuing penalties for every day the property is not in compliance after 9/17 at $50 a day.
Sounds good to me.
Has the white van been removed?
The van actually does have a legal tag. It has been removed. There is items still stored on the right-of-way,
Okay.
woods and stuff against the front of the trailer that if Mr. Rushing will work with his neighbor and they'll both clean up by 9/17, we'll withdraw the
Talking to Mike.
civil. Does that work for you?
Yes, it does. We'll take care of it.
Then we'll make the order that you made for the last one on this one.
Okay, I make that recommendation.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You gentlemen are aware if there's a repeat violation for the same thing, the same property, the penalty is double next time, okay?
Now, a quick question. Is our fire pit and chairs, is that a violation or can we leave it?
No, she said it's not in violation.
Just the scrap.
It's one piece of plywood. It's all
She will let you know. She will let you know.
Best thing to do would be to call her and have her come take a look and give you a clean bill of health.
Very good.
And I'll be there. We'll buy it through the rest of the weekend, and I'll be there Monday.
Let's make sure that little table is...
No, the table and chairs and fire safety. Yeah.
Whatever wooden thing, table and everything.
No, not the wooden thing with the stuff stored on it. Yes, sir.
Let's trust Jim's son. What's the property going on?
I'm surprised I haven't seen this more.
Melody,
I don't think so.
I think you're done.
A lot of them have already been sold and redone.
The Banfield's in compliance.
We used to have 2 and 3.
Melody,
Yes, sir.
I had a question. When you refer to the previous cases where the cars were on right away, were they actually on grass or were they on the road?
Previous cases?
Today,
Like the Buick?
were the untagged vehicles, you said they were on right away, right?
Right.
Were they on the
it's
road
actually-
or were they
No,
on the
it's
grass?
actually between the curb and the trailer.
That could be.
Okay, so they're technically on grass, but I understand it was right
Yeah.
away, but I just didn't know if they're on grass or on pavement.
They're on grass.
All right, thank you.
It just as easily could be concrete, correct? That area.
Place to be concrete.
Yeah, I mean, it could be concrete, but except it's grass, which is Florida. That's wonderful.
Well then,
Okay, 18-CE-8775, Tony and F. Lorangelo Abassi.
Wait, we need to go back up to
Item
That's not
page.
doing.
N.
Oh, jeez. Sorry. Just getting over anxious. 18-CE-8789, U.S. Bank Trust, N.A.
I have neighbors that are here that we will, they won't be heard, but they're here.
We have their statement here, and
That's one of their statements.
You would have to call them as witnesses if they
I'm
want
just
to.
saying that this is a concern and that they're here just to show support for this case being
can we
resolved.
ask the neighbors to raise their hands or not?
No.
Well, no, we can't acknowledge them. Okay.
I mean, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. The consensus of the neighborhood isn't competent substantial evidence. So if Melody wants to call them as witnesses where they can describe exactly what it is that they're seeing and testify as to the condition of the property, we can do that. But they just can't on their own come up and, there is no public hearing portion of a quasi-judicial hearing of this nature.
Madam Attorney, I'm in the receipt of a letter here from this group, I presume, and if you want me to read it, it could
No,
be-
sir. Again, it's a matter of it being competent, substantial evidence. This is a specific type of case where the public, normally the public is given an opportunity to speak. That the statute that governs that specifically excludes quasi-judicial hearings of this nature from the public hearing input part. If Melody would like to call anyone who is attending today to testify as to the condition of the property, Melody may do that as being the prosecutor of the case.
My question to can I ask the audience if anyone would be willing to come up if Ms.
No.
Anderson calls her?
If I call them, they will appear.
She can call them.
Okay, thank you.
Can't shake your hands.
Requesting a board order for case 18CE8789. The violator is U.S. Bank and Trust. They were cited for property being vacant and unsecured, weeds, grass, and undergrowth at a height of more than 12 inches at 2208 Buena Vista Boulevard. The citation was issued 8/14/18 with service of the citation provided by property posting and certified return receipt. The violation has not been corrected and the civil penalty has not been paid.
What is
this
the
a
civil
repeat?
penalty, Mel?
I'm sorry?
What's the civil penalty?
The civil penalty is $50, but just the reason why the neighbors are here, this is McAnge Park, it's a main thoroughfare. Ms. Thornton, I'd like to call as a witness because she lives next door and she has had a problem with the overgrowth and has seen some transient activity in the house.
Right.
Ms. Thornton?
And I'm going to need to swear you in, please.
She was.
You did? Okay.
And this is the first violation?
Is this not a
No.
repeat? Yeah.
Yes.
It's a repeat?
It is a repeat. We've had multiple cases on the property. If I might go touch base with Ms. Thornton, as the next door neighbor, how long have you been living next to 2208 Buena Vista?
Just over 18 years.
And to the first of your, to the first of your knowledge, when was there a problem on this property that you were aware of with it not being maintained or taken care of?
Probably starting about 15 years ago.
Oh, my God.
And you are aware that at different times the city has moved in, and as recently as 2014, the city moved in and mowed the property, secured the property with the windows and the doors, and covered a stagnant swimming pool?
We are aware of that. We're also aware that the neighbors at times have arrived on the property and mowed the property because it just brings down the whole neighborhood.
That's true. In 2014, the city abated it. In 2014, later that same year, the property was cut. Unknown who cut it. I'm assuming it's the neighbors. In 2015, once again, they came before the board. There was a board order to pay, and it was done by the servicing company for the mortgage company. Another time, the property was cut by the property owner's husband. The property owner was in an accident, had a traumatic brain injury. While she was alive, her husband had power of attorney, and at different points, we've had him come in and cut it and maintain the property. Right now, the bank has taken title.
We're going to need to postpone this case. Just looking at the record for ownership, the ownership has changed. There's a certificate of title in Gloria Montanez.
Gloria Montanez was the prior owner. The bank has title.
Okay.
I have a copy of the certificate of title.
Okay. Oh, you are correct. I'm reading it wrong. It's the grantor, not the grantee.
Okay. So the bank does own it. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like
Mel,
me to
how
make a
long
statement? Or?
Is it for sale? Is it?
No.
There's no sale sign on
The
it?
property actually has an unsafe structure against it by the building department. Going into this hearing, considering the way that we are going to ask the board to make an order, I've asked Public Works to step in and look at the property on the city abating it. And the city has estimated that mowing and cleaning up the landscaping would be $1,500, boarding the first story windows and doors with glass, $2,000, and the plywood cover that we placed over the pool in 2014 has been removed. Now we have a tarp that's once again floating in a stagnant pool, so we would reconstruct that to $1,000.
How much?
$1,000.
At this point, the costs are not relative. Once the work is done, the actual costs are done, it will come back or go to the city council for a public nuisance lien. At that point, all the costs will be calculated and assessed against the property.
So my request today is a board order to find that the violation does exist, that the violation is a threat to the public health, safety, and welfare, that the violator, U.S. Bank and Trust, has until 10/17 to correct the violation or could face a continuing penalty of $50 a day for each day the violation exists, starting from the compliance date on the citation. That if the violation is not corrected by 10/17, the city manager may correct the violation and all cost or repairs of work, as well as an administration fee of 10% or $150 may be assessed by resolution of the city council as a special assessment lien and include the civil penalty of $50.
No prosecution costs on this?
No, sir.
When would the $50 a day start, if at any time?
9/17/2018.
But the $50 goes, the continuing penalty goes back to the date of on the citation that they should have come into compliance.
9/17.
Well, actually, the original compliance date was 8/28, so it would go then.
8/28.
So if they're not complied by 9/17.
By 10/17.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, 9/17.
Okay, all right. She said October.
I was going to ask about that.
Right. No, just asking that if they don't correct the violation, that we be allowed to move in and abate it once again.
And to clarify, although this particular piece of property has had numerous issues against it, this particular owner is a new owner, so that the repeat violation doesn't come into play.
And this is a McAnch Park, and it's a main thoroughfare, and it's an eyesore, it's an unsafe structure, and it's impacting the neighbors, and I hear from them frequently because they are impacted. It's overgrown. I've had 2 complaints that they're seeing some kind of transient activity in the house at night.
Any rodent complaints?
Ms. Thornton, have you had any problems with rodents?
My name is Nan Thornton. I live at 2236 Buena Vista Boulevard. Yes. We have 2 cars, and forever, we have never had an issue with rodents. In the last 2 months, we've spent probably about $3,000 getting rodent repair done.
I believe
when we park our cars in the garage, you will almost never see our car out in front.
She explained to me that the wiring, electrical wiring of the car was eaten through, and they believe it's rodents.
Yeah, this is what we've been told. One car was done by the Chevrolet dealer. The other one was done several different places. Final one was Mozzarella, and they said the same thing. Rodents eating wires.
Yep. They like wires.
So this, what we do today, this will be the next step to getting the house demolished? This will be the first step?
We're just going to abate it, we're going to mow it, we're going to secure it where the windows have access, and we're going to secure the pool.
But if the house is unsound, why are we going?
But this won't keep vagrants.
Because the building department, when they did their...
It may be unsecure, but still structurally sound. That's the difference.
That's not what she said.
It is. The building department has a case from 2015 as it being an unsafe structure.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the building department needs to follow through with that.
Right. Now that we have a new owner, we can ask the building department to do another review of it and see if budget allows us to move through once again and demolish.
When did the new owner take ownership?
The certificate of title.
The 6th of June, 2018.
And that was the bank that took it?
I guess they bought it themselves at a foreclosure auction for $80,100.
They're going to regret that.
How much? $8,000?
I need a write-off.
I have a question for the attorney. Should this not be corrected, what would be the next step that the city could take to correct this?
That is what Melody has requested the order to include, that the city will then go in and do an abatement of the matter. They'll go in and, as necessary, clear the property, secure windows as necessary, and then that will go to the city council for a resolution as a special assessment lien.
I mean, at some point, does the city have the legal ability to knock it down? If
They would have to go through the process for an unsafe structure. That's the building department's responsibility to do that. This today is the first step in getting it done, and if we don't do this, there's nothing more we can do today.
I understand that. I was just wondering how many steps there are and how long it might take after 15 years.
Time out. This gentleman has just told me he wishes to be heard on this, and I don't know who he is. Will you identify yourself?
Again, unless you're calling him as a witness.
That's why I'm asking him to identify himself, because I don't know who he is, and he's just now come forward.
George Childers. I live in McAnch Park, 2231 Seville Avenue. Probably.
Sir, if you're we need you talking into a microphone.
Well, she wants to decide whether. So you are calling him.
I don't.
Just say yes. Just say yes.
Okay. Are you of the mindset of Ms. Thornton that you're weighing in as a neighbor, or are you here to say that you are as a contractor to address the property?
I'm here as a neighbor, concerned neighbor.
Okay, at this point, as Kara, as the attorney has explained, you will not be heard. I have asked Ms. Thornton that I could question her. I don't know, I don't have a relationship with you, but I understand that you are impacted as well.
Everybody's impacted.
Absolutely.
So, can he speak if you ask him to?
Well, if he doesn't have...
Unless Melody feels comfortable calling him and asking him questions, she is not required to.
I called Ms. Thornton because she has dialogued with me and had her concerns, and I wanted to call her here today and have her testimony. This is the first I've met Mr. Childers, so I have no knowledge of anything to ask him. I do understand his concern, as the other neighbors, with what we do with this property as it impacts them.
Well,
I'd like to hear the man.
I would like to hear what the man has to say if he'll speak.
Do you want to take a minute and go outside and talk to him or not? Or, and then find out, or?
A recess?
I don't know what additional evidence he's going to provide that isn't already going to make you decide to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah, the question before the board is whether
Do you feel like there's something that you need to say to me if we take a recess that's any different than the concerns expressed by Ms. Thornton and myself regarding the property?
I have a lot to say.
I didn't really get an answer there.
That's okay, that's answer enough for me. I would like to get back to work today.
Just something that I would say to the board, the commission, those present.
Keep it brief, please.
Sir,
if you're a homeowner...
there is no opportunity for public hearing at this time. You have not been called as a witness. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and we have to follow the procedures.
I will make a motion.
Yes, please.
I'd like to say to the neighbors that we hear their concerns and we are doing our level best to bring the property into compliance for the health, safety, and welfare of the neighbors as well as the city.
I have a further question. If the city goes in and abates this property right now, is it a possibility that we'd have to go in another 2 months, another 6 months?
Of course.
Yes.
So the city would continually go in and abate this property and clean it up, and at, again, the expense of the city, the tax.
Right, but the neighbors are taxpayers.
Right, but right, I understand that, but again, they've already gone in and expended through time and good expense to keep it clean, and now we're going to...
But the building department's going to do an evaluation of the building to see if it's structurally sound or if it needs to be torn down, which I agree
was going to be my next question.
So it's going to ultimately get to that at some point.
Thank you.
It's unrepairable.
Thank you.
And by doing it this process, we are making it where it will be a special assessment lien, which will be second to a tax lien. So at some point, if the property is sold, torn down, redeveloped, we will stand in line to collect what we have in it. But we kind of have to do something, even though we have before.
I agree. I totally agree.
I'm sorry. Could you tell me once again when the building department will be doing this assessment?
It's a long process.
It's a process, and now that there's a new owner, I will re-dialogue and tell them that the last time they declared it unsafe is 2015, and nothing's been done since. So once again, please do that, and then we will see, as the budget of the city allows, if we have the money for us to demolish it.
Can we give this bank a time limit, that if you don't do it by such and such time, we're going to do something? Are we allowed to do that?
It's the same process as any other violator. Right now, we're just worrying about the external conditions of the property, the overgrowth, the unsecure windows, and
we are giving the bank until September 17th.
There'll have to be a second process for the unsafe structure. The building department will have to provide notice to the owner. They are given an opportunity to either make repairs or tear it down themselves. If they don't do that, then they're given a notice that the city will be tearing it down themselves. Again, it's all dependent upon a budget, and again, it would be a lien against the property. But for today's purposes, the condition of the structure, other than the unsecure windows and unsecured pool, is not at issue.
We're at step one.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be a motion.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that there is a violation. The violation continues to this date, and we set a compliance date of September 17th to correct all the multiple violations. If at that time the violations hasn't been corrected, then continuing penalties of $50 a day will commence starting August 28th, the original date of correction. And
We need you to find that this is a public nuisance.
I'm trying to keep it all together.
Okay. That's the most important part, actually.
And we order payment of the original $50 civil penalty. And we find that the property is a public nuisance, and that the city abate.
If the problems aren't corrected.
Yeah, if the problems aren't corrected, that the city abate the violations. What else was there?
Sounds great.
That's going to happen anyway. We can't order the building department around, I don't think.
No, and once the property comes into compliance by us abating it, that'll stop the daily fine.
Okay.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.
Bear with us, we're slow. Thanks for coming.
And again, we do understand the neighbors' concerns. It's just that we have to follow certain procedures with that quasi-judicial hearing. And as stated, the statute specifically says there isn't a public comment portion of these types of hearings. We'll keep on top of it. Staff will keep on top of it. We'll make sure that the building department follows their proper procedure so that we can get the structure declared unsafe. And I will do some research into the bank that owns it and see if there's somebody specific that we can be talking to rather than sending it to just a known P.O. box somewhere in New Jersey, most likely, or Delaware.
True, in the past, when we post a citation, usually when there's someone who's servicing the property, they will step in and identify themselves, and this has not been cut since the bank took possession of it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Thornton, for your comments.
See, I subconsciously skipped that one, apparently.
Are we allowed to discuss this issue?
Let's finish first, and then we can discuss it after we're done. How's that?
I think so.
We only got one more case.
We can't really discuss it.
Sure we can. We're here in public forum. We can discuss it.
As long as the meeting, you're in a public, you can.
We're not going to.
You can talk about the generalities. You can talk about the generalities of the case if there's any particular concerns, or not necessarily about the specific case, but just the circumstances in general.
Last case, 18-CE-8775.
Requesting a board order for 18 CE 8775. The violators, Tony and Laura Angela Bassi, were cited for operating a guest house in a transient quarter in a residential zone. Citation was issued 8/9/2018 with service of the citation provided by property posting. The violation has not been corrected. Though the tenants that were originally interviewed have left, the property continues to turn over and be advertised as a short-term rental. Therefore, we're requesting that the board find the violation exists, a board order to correct the violation by 9/17, the initial civil penalty and continuing daily penalties of $500 a day for every day the property is not in compliance, back to the original compliance date of the citation.
I'd like to make a motion to go with staff recommendation.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Way to be decisive.
Now let's talk about the Buena Vista.
Do we have any authority to get on this bank's back?
Are you here for
That's what I wanted to discuss.
That's what this is.
I'm sorry.
Because every time we get involved with a bank situation where a bank takes over, it goes on and on and on. They rack up $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in fine, and then they come in and plead ignorance.
But we have a good thing, because most of the time when the bank forecloses on the property, they have no responsibility. Even though they foreclose and haven't taken title, it's always on the original owner. So this bank has taken title, so this bank is responsible.
Do we have any authority to communicate with them and say, hey, guys, this is going to
The
cost you a lot of
17th
money?
To square this away.
I mean, she sent the citation to them. That's what I'm saying, is that I will try to see if I can find additional information, contact the attorney of the foreclosure case and see if we can get, a person that we can contact, dialogue with to.
But bank-owned property is no different than any other person.
No, I understand
This is Florida,
that, yeah.
it rains, grass grows.
Right.
At a minimum, mow the grass.
But in any situation we've had with a bank, they'll come in and go, well, we couldn't get somebody to mow it, and the guy was supposed to mow
just took
it.
title.
We had a disagreement with, and come on, we're not talking about Joe Blow down the street. This is the U.S. Bank.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'd also just like to make a general comment. I do appreciate Mr. Schlett, but the comments that it's a trailer park, well, Fairlane Harbor's a trailer park, Countryside is a trailer park, it does not matter that it's a trailer park. Your tenants need to be aware of their surroundings. This is in the city, and we need to protect the other homeowners around the trailer park. And yes, it's very difficult to keep the tenants aware of it, but don't just say it's a trailer park and where are you going to go with this?
Well, it's zone industrial too, though.
But still, they're homes, and there are other homes surrounding them, and people should be concerned about that.
Are there other homes surrounding it?
There is.
There are?
Yeah.
And businesses.
And there's another
I assume
trailer
they're
park in the
businesses.
next block, and the difference is night and day.
So that is just my concern, that it's just not a trailer park. These are people living in there, so they should be concerned about the area and the other people surrounding them. And it's not just a trailer park. And
I'm glad Mrs. Hillman started something off on the manufactured homes. I think the city has to go by there quite often, because from what I've heard, as much as Mr. Schlitt may try, there are people that flaunt the rules. I'm concerned about the how it looks, the presentation of the property to the public, number one. No, actually, number two, I'm concerned about public safety. EMTs, firemen, policemen, and so that property has to be policed more efficiently and more often, in my opinion.
These cases were initiated, and there are other cases that will probably come forward next month. This is a result of an interagency sweep of the trailer park.
That's a good thing to hear.
thank you.
And one other item, as you saw in the case today, half of the agenda was pulled because properties come into compliance after the notice of hearing, in the interest of finding a happy medium so that the clerk doesn't go through the noticing process and us have to do what we do. Cases that are complied after the notice hearing, we will be bringing them to the board requesting at least the cost of enforcement.
Okay.
Can I go home now?
You're excused.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Everybody
You're stewing anyway.
sufficiently vented?
I don't know. Are we okay? Any more questions?
All right, then we'll go home.
It's just unfortunate we can't find a big book to throw at people like this bank. This stuff continues for years. These people have been suffering for 15 years in that neighborhood.
It appears
And
that the original owner, one of the owners, died, and so there was probably some extenuating circumstances.
We're all going to die.
Well,
At which point you won't care what
when the
happens to
owner
your
died,
house.
that was very recently.
okay.
You know, but we have had a long-term history with the property, and the bank sometimes would mow it. The owner's husband sometimes did it. The neighbors more than once stepped in and mowed it because it was an impact to them.
Yeah. So the bank is just technically a recent owner, so we will make every effort to find the correct person to try to get this remedied ASAP and all the way down to fixing the home or tearing it down.
They're going to regret buying this one. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.